Aldrich had been staring down at his desk, upon which sat a map of Elasaria, the Celestial Isles, and surrounding areas, when the knock at the door jarred him from his contemplations. "Come in." Viscount Langdell entered, back straight, head held high. It was not so long ago that Aldrich had given the order to have him executed. Though he had escaped that fate with Bronwyn's help, he wondered if Aldrich had plans to finish what he started. No matter what came next, the Viscount was determined to meet it with a brave face. "You summoned me, Your Majesty." "Yes, there are several matters that we need to discuss." Aldrich gestured for Langdell to approach the desk. As the Viscount approached, he noticed pieces of varying colors arrayed across the map, pieces which very much seemed to represent troop deployments. The Viscount raised an eyebrow. "Your Majesty, these look to me like battle plans." "That is what they are. War is coming to Elasaria, Viscount Langdell." Langdell nodded solemnly. He had heard rumors that something was afoot, but hearing it from the king himself was unsettling. "War with whom?" "The Eternal Thousand Bandits have gathered strength and now appear to be preparing to mobilize their forces." "The bandits? Waging war against Elasaria? They will be decimated." "I do not believe they act alone. Even as we speak, there are other forces in motion that seek to oppose me, to oppose Elasaria. A traitorous group called the Veiled Hands operates in the shadows of our very capital. And I hear tell of signs of necromancy in the forest. It cannot be a coincidence that all these disparate elements should come about at once." Langdell surveyed the king, who had returned to consulting his map. It occurred to him that what Aldrich said might be the ravings of a paranoid man on the brink of insanity, and yet he, too, felt the presence of encroaching darkness. Had he not seen the undead creatures lurking in the forest with his own eyes? "What would you have me do?" "Ready the supranational knights. I expect we will need them in the days to come." "At my command, you shall have them." "Good. I thank you. There is one more thing I would like to discuss." "Yes, Your Majesty." "You have been formally pardoned for your attempt on Rose's life." Langdell could only stare at Aldrich for a few moments. It struck the Viscount how different the man before him was from the man who had sentenced him to die, the man whose judgment had been utterly clouded by Rose's presence. He now saw a true king, though the crown lay heavy upon his worried brow. Langdell knelt before Aldrich. "Thank you, my king. Thank you." "Rise, Langdell. There is work to be done. Speak with your fellow knights and tell them what I have told you." "It shall be done." The Viscount bowed and exited the office, leaving Aldrich to continue scrutinizing his map.
It had felt good to stretch my legs and walk the length of the southern palace. My ladies-in-waiting had offered to join me, but I had declined. Though I cared for them dearly, since sustaining my injuries, the time I had spent confined to my room with them had started to drive me a little mad. On this walk, I had made a promise to myself not to think about my strange vision, and had been largely successful. I neared the door to my room with a calm I had not felt in ages. But as I entered my chambers and saw the distraught look on Henry's face, my calm evaporated. "What's the matter?" Henry handed me a letter. Though the wax seal was broken, I recognized Grand Duke Bjorn's sigil. I began reading.
"He speaks of outrage in the streets. The people are calling me a tyrant.
A murderer!
Henry paced, wringing his hands.
I knew Marquis Kerridge had written a letter full of vile rumours, but it has since been printed and distributed to the masses. Those who cannot read listen in crowds as the letter is recited aloud. Oh, Bronwyn, this is awful.
I read further down the page to the back half of the letter. What is this mention of a dark crown?
Some artifact that the imbeciles in Rhett's archives have misplaced. That is not my chief concern. I am at an utter loss for how to proceed with the matter of this public outcry. Ignoring the letter will only allow dissent to fester and spread throughout the Celestial Isles. But if I come down harshly, it will lend credence to the idea that I am tyrannical.
Henry was right to be concerned. The situation was volatile and likely to get worse if no action was taken. Yet I found something in his demeanour off-putting. A petulant quality I could not immediately place. Then I realised what it was that had irked me so. It was that his fears were purely centred on himself. He was not fretting for the people's sake, the security of the Celestial Isles, or even me. I saw Henry was staring, awaiting my response. Perhaps you should travel home.
Without you?
I do not feel well enough to travel. Besides, I am needed here for the trial.
I will not leave you. Not in your current state.
I could not help but wonder if he meant he would not leave me here with Aldrich so near. I sighed. Then it seems there are few options left. It may be the matter can wait another week or more, enough time for the trial to be finished and for us to return. By then we will have formed a strategy to address the situation best. Henry nodded. Though he did not seem entirely satisfied, he had at least settled down. I read the letter again, fixating on the passage about the missing crown or the stolen crown. I closed my eyes, and for a moment, imagined I was in the forest clearing from my dream, facing that shadowy woman. Could there be a connection? The question terrified me.
Skylar and Kaya, both clad in cloaks drawn over their heads, stood near the door to an old, abandoned warehouse. Kaya busied herself with picking the lock, while Skylar kept a lookout.
My connection told me this was the spot. He was sure of it. This looks like the place I would expect the Veiled Hands to meet. It has an eerie quality to it.
Skylar watched Kaya working away at the keyhole, impressed.
Where did you learn to pick locks? I had to do many things to scrape by when I was growing up. I'm not proud to say burglary was among them.
Skylar gave Kaya a sympathetic look.
I think I almost got it.
There was a satisfying click. Kaya tested the door. It swung open. They stared into the dark interior of the warehouse.
I'll go first.
With a snap, a magical flame emanated from Skylar's hand. She held it out like a torch and stepped inside. Kaya stayed close behind her.
How can it be so dark in here when it's still day outside? The windows are boarded up. Here, watch out.
With a wave of Skylar's hand, several more magical flames appeared. She sent them drifting around the space, evenly distributed in a circle so that the entire room was lit, albeit dimly.
Empty. The whole place is empty.
She was right. At a glance, there was nothing to indicate this was a hideout or meeting space of any kind. Just broken wooden crates, rotted pieces of road, and a dirt-covered floor.
Look here, though.
Kaya was kneeling and pointing at the ground. Skylar joined her. The dirty floor of the warehouse was covered in boot prints.
This place has been here for ages, but these prints appear recent. There's not even dust in some of them.
Schuyler followed a specific line of prints up to a piece of parchment on the floor. She scooped it up.
Listen, if you're reading this note, then you're too late to find us. Keep searching, though, and we may just find you. And they've drawn a skull. That has to have been them.
Schuyler frowned at the threat. Kaya squeezed her hand.
We knew it would be a risk to pursue them. We simply need to proceed with more caution.
As Kaya returned to searching for more clues, Schuyler watched her, hating herself for bringing Kaya onto this dangerous adventure. It was nearing sunset, and the sky overhead glowed a brilliant red. Viscount Langdale stepped into the garden, searching for Nadine. He had heard she went out for a walk. After a short search, he spied her across a field of roses. He grinned. She would be relieved to hear that he had been pardoned. The cloud that had hung over them both for so long now had finally lifted. He called out, "Nadine!" Nadine heard and turned his way. He waved. When she saw the grin on his face, a smile rose to her lips as well. She waved back. He took a few steps towards her. There was a sudden, sharp pain in Langdale's throat. He watched as Nadine's smile gave way to a look of utter horror. She ran toward him, screaming. Langdale's hands reached up to his neck and grabbed the shaft of the arrow that had pierced his flesh. He pulled. He had only begun to draw the arrow from his throat when he collapsed into the thorny rose bushes, gasping and sputtering blood.
Langdale! Langdale! Help! Help!
She was soon at his side, but Langdale attempted to wave her off. He tried to tell her to get to safety, but could not speak.
I'm here. I will not leave you. Help somebody!
The Viscount tried sitting up, but found he did not have the strength. His vision blurred and darkened. He would need to rest. Yes, rest and regain his strength. Then he could tell Nadine his good news. Then she would be happy again. Langdale touched Nadine's cheek, and his hand fell limp. He was dead.
I woke up this morning from a dream where Aldrich and I were dancing. There was no music, no party, just us, in our home in the country, watching the sunrise and swaying together, the way we did when we were first married. Suddenly, he pulled me closer and whispered to me with urgency.
I will keep us safe.
But what of the rest of Elisaria? I whispered back in the dream.
We are Elisaria.
After that, I woke up alone to the real sunrise filling my room, with shades of sun rays only found in paint boxes. I knew that I was just dreaming this time, not having a vision. But the message rang true to me. I felt safe in Aldrich's arms. And whenever I thought about Elisaria's safety, I thought of Aldrich and me accomplishing that together. Was it even possible to do it alone? Well into the morning, I sat with my ladies in waiting, wondering whether to send another note to Aldrich. The castle was always brimming with gossip, especially now that everything besides the walls themselves seemed so fragile. And if I had someone deliver the note, I knew rumours would swirl about what we were discussing. The deposed queen, wooed by the written word once more, finds herself back in the throes of her ex-husband's charm. I sighed and shook my head. My reputation was nowhere near the heart of the matter right now. If Aldrich was the key to the safety of Elisaria, and possibly the world, then I must proceed. The way he made me feel was mere context. Matilda, would you fetch me a quill and parchment? She looked at me with the slightest hint of a smile, and I knew she was on to me. I knew Matilda revered King Henry, but she revered me even more, and she was very sensitive to how I was treated. It was not her place to comment on things like this, but I could see the dissatisfaction on her face when Henry left my room. He and I were not operating in sync right now, and I had no patience to convince someone who didn't believe me that danger was coming. If I had a confidant anywhere in my correspondence with Aldrich, I knew it was where Matilda stood. Of course, Your Majesty. Writing to your parents. Her hint of a smile had grown into a full-on smirk. Family, yes. She nodded, handing me the tools I requested, and sat back on the couch where she awaited the servant's delivery of our morning teas and pastries. Aldrich, I believe our partnership is the first step in fighting whatever is out there. It is not something I know, it is just something I feel. I speak in terms of political alliance, not the rekindling of a marriage. I discussed my visions with Oscar, and some of his experiences confirmed what I already felt within me. There is dark magic in our world, and it is spreading. We have enemies, and we have a duty to our people. He and I are ready to fight. I am prepared to fight fire with ice. Please report back, and we can plan a time to meet about this. Here, Matilda, I think we both know where this is meant to be taken. Yes, Your Majesty.
I am prepared to fight fire with ice. Aldrich sat in his chair as he read Bronwyn's words over and over again. He could not remember how long he had been waiting for her willingness to ally with him. But now that the time had come, he was not so sure. Her promise to fight the woman whom he had knocked down over and over again filled him with fear. He had lost so much. He had lost her as a wife. He did not want to lose her as a person. They both knew there was something evil running amok, and his pregnant ex-wife, recently awakened from a coma, was not fit to be on the front lines. Even working behind the scenes to orchestrate their retaliation or defense was not safe. They weren't anticipating just brute force. There was something smart, something otherworldly that was posing a threat. Bronwyn needed to hide. He grabbed for a quill and parchment and began penning a response, his stream of consciousness pouring onto the parchment. He did not care if he sounded like a mad king. Perhaps he was. Bronwyn, you speak with the wisdom of a sage and the bravery of a warrior. But it is no longer safe for you to be so closely involved. I am being visited by specters, haunted by the past in ways that transcend guilt and paranoia. You must find somewhere safe for yourself and your child. Elasaria cannot outlive you. I cannot outlive you. Please, flee. I say this with more love than you know possible. He let out a deep sigh and put his quill down. He knew this would not be the end of the conversation. He no longer had the power to tell her when conversations were over, and he knew she did not generally enjoy taking no for an answer, especially when it came to Elasaria. He turned to the painting of her behind him and ran his fingers over the likeness of her face. Stay safe, please. Rose sat in her cell, running her fingers through her hair, surprisingly comfortable on her rock-hard cot. She did not need the comfort of material things in a place where she was so beloved.
Knowing how much everyone loves me here is enough to keep me happy.
She looked into the sparkling green eyes of the doll, which she was not quite sure how to activate. It seemed only to speak when it wanted to, and Rose did not know how to rise it. She shook it a bit.
And I love you.
Nothing. Rose sighed.
I am strong. I am not weak. Wake up, doll. I urge you to speak.
Nothing. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment at the silly incantation she had tried. After all this time, she still felt stupid. A wave of panic washed over her. She realized that this doll was the source of her newfound power and influence. She could not lose it. What if it stopped speaking altogether? She needed another source of information.
God!
Yes, my great queen.
Get me the oracle.
The guard, compelled by an unseen force, nodded obediently and hurried off to fetch the oracle. Rose waited, tapping her fingers on the cold stone surface that was the wall. She felt a stare on her, even though she could hardly see.
Who dares gaze at me?
Summoning the oracle, Rose. You're getting bolder.
Bolder or smarter? Information is power, Reginald.
Information from seers can be a double-edged sword. They weave a web of information that is up for interpretation, and sometimes the threads entangle the one who pulls them.
Are you suggesting I should fear the oracle?
I'm suggesting you should tread carefully in the realm of seers. Their insights can illuminate the path, but they can also blind those who dare to stare into the abyss for too long. Just remember, Rose, even the mighty can fall. Don't lose sight of the forest by staring at the trees.
Rose grunted and looked at the sliver of light coming in through her window. She had learned from her mistakes. She needed the oracle. Reginald was wrong.
I looked up from my tea at the sound of metal clanking to see Cedrica enter my chambers, the sheath for her sword knocking into just about everything she walked by. Cedrica, come in. It's lovely to see you. Cedrica hesitated at the door, but eventually stepped inside, her gaze avoiding mine. My lady, I appreciate the invitation, but I've got more pressing matters than wine and gossip. I couldn't help but smile. I had never seen so much charm from someone being so impolite. Come now, greet me properly. Cedrica came over to me and embraced me in the tightest hug I had ever felt. I was so afraid. It's all right, Cedrica. I'm all right. Better now that you're here. I should have been here the whole time. Nothing would have happened to you. I am not the only one who needs you. Oscar needs you too, you know. She looked down at the floor and grimaced at the mention of his name. Are you no longer enjoying his company? His company is neither here nor there. We are partners, and we fight battles. Love can be a battle of its own, Cedrica. Cedrica shifted uncomfortably in her seat, grumbling. I'm more comfortable wielding a sword than navigating matters of the heart. I understand that. Your heart is more likely to break than a sword. He's married. Not yet. He's not. Your Majesty. I have never seen someone more fit for my brother. Is this a battle you're willing to lose? That doesn't seem like the warrior I know. I do not lose battles. Then don't. The things we've seen. There are more important things at hand. You can navigate more than one thing at once. I have faith in you. What if he does not return my love? I'm not the woman men desire. Oscar is not like most men, and you are not like most women. That is a good thing, dear Cedrica. What if he does not find me beautiful? Then he's a fool. Cedrica looked down at the floor, but I could see her lips turned up at the corners. I spotted Matilda out of the corner of my eye. She's right, Cedrica. Cedrica looked up at her. But perhaps we should brush your hair.
Hidden in the safe house, Viscountess Amelia held Beatrice and rocked her as she watched the baby's eyes slowly close.
Oh, you fussy girl. It is time to sleep. Rest your weary eyes, my love.
May I? Duke Elegy stood in the doorway to the nursery and reached his arms out. Amelia nodded and handed the child to him gently so she would not be roused out of her nearing slumber.
Shh.
There we go. Hello, Beatrice. He rocked her back and forth, and she settled into a peaceful sleep. Viscountess Amelia smiled and admired the sight before her. The child's lips were pursed in the most perfect shape. She looked up at Elegy and swooned at the sight of him. Could this handsome man really be here for her, for this child? Was it just a matter of time before he went on to his next escapade? Or was Amelia watching her future unfold before her? His lovely eyes, his ivory skin, his pink, perfectly pursed lips. Amelia squinted and looked between Beatrice and the Duke's faces. She put her hands to her mouth. Those lips were identical. It couldn't be. What is it? Amelia was too stunned to speak. The Duke straightened up and gently placed Beatrice in her crib. He walked back towards Amelia and stood an inch from her face.
Your lips.
The Duke leaned in and pressed those lips against hers. Between the realization that was dawning on her and the irresistibility of this man, her body and mind felt out of control. Shivers ran up her spine. Was she excited or afraid? She did not know. He separated from her. Ask me.
Ask you?
You know, you can ask me. Say it.
Are you?
Am I?
Are you the father of Princess Beatrice?
Instead of responding, Duke Elegy reintroduced his lips to hers. This time, she could tell he had no intention of moving his face away. He pulled her towards him and grasped her hair hard. He moved his tongue in through the crease in her lips, and she felt like he was moving through her. She did not know where she ended and he began. He pushed her gently up against the wall, and she was powerless to the pleasure. They worked quietly as to not wake the baby, and Amelia, suddenly, had forgotten that Duke Elegy did not answer her question.
Dear listener, the upcoming episode will be today's last free episode of this story. Come back tomorrow to enjoy free episodes or get coins now to continue listening.
Aldrich was taking an evening stroll through the garden ahead of his supper to see that the castle grounds were in order. He could not shake the feeling that danger was afoot, and it set his worried mind at ease to see business as usual operating on his grounds. As he was strolling, he saw Oscar Troby marching towards him. He tried to reroute nonchalantly, but it was too late. Aldrich did not fear him. He had nothing left to lose, but it was painful to look at his face. That face that looked so much like Bronwyn's, filled with rage, reminded him of all the reasons Bronwyn had to hate him.
Don't you dare run away!
Hello, Oscar.
Do you think I'm stupid?
I don't think you're stupid, Oscar.
Well, it seems you think Bronwyn is.
This was not something Aldrich was willing to brush off.
What did you say?
I am weary, but I am still king.
If you prefer exile again, I can make that happen.
Oscar took a step towards him.
You encourage Bronwyn to fight, to involve her in the danger that awaits us?
Quite the contrary, brother.
I am not your brother. I begged her to stay safe.
I wrote to her yesterday. I told her I refused to let Elasaria outlive her. After the trial, she must disappear. Oscar looked at Aldrich, confused, and took another step towards him.
You mock me?
No.
Why would I believe that you are looking out for her safety after all this time? Especially now that she is pregnant with another man's child. You want to punish her for it, don't you? You want to put her on the front lines of danger because she did not bear your child, but the child of another man. A man worthy of her. A man worthy of his throne. Have you ever thought, brother, that you are the one who is infertile?
Aldrich gritted his teeth. My choice not to harm you is just that, a choice. But I am known for changing my mind. Do not tempt me, Oscar. Fueled by anger and resentment, Oscar took another menacing step forward, clenching his fists.
You can't manipulate me with your words. I see through your games.
This is no game, Oscar. I may be many things, but I still love her, and I worry for her safety. I've heard whispers of a looming war, of powers that threaten our very existence. Bronwyn is not just my ex-wife. She is the key to Elisaria's survival. Oscar's aggressive stance wavered as Aldrich's words resonated. The mention of Elisaria's survival stirred something within him.
If you truly care for her, why did you let her suffer?
Aldrich's eyes hardened, and he clenched his fists, the weight of his past decisions heavy on his shoulders. Regret is a burden I carry every day. But I am doing what I can to rectify my mistakes. I won't let her suffer any longer. Oscar's glare softened, uncertainty flickering in his eyes.
Why should I believe you?
Aldrich took a step closer, lowering his guard and revealing vulnerability. Because whether you acknowledge it or not, we share a bond through her. We may be different, Oscar, but we both want Elasaria to endure. I may not be the man Bronwyn deserves, but I am one of the ones she has. Oscar's stern expression softened, the fiery rage in his eyes giving way to a glimmer of understanding. The tension in the air began dissipating as they stood in the garden, two men burdened by their past and uncertain future, but bound by a common concern for the safety of the one they both cared for, Bronwyn. Rose hummed melodically, passing the time until she was called upon for greater things, when she heard the heavy door of the cell block open.
"You have a visitor, Your Majesty."
Rose covered her face with her hands. Whoever was entering was carrying a torch. She had grown used to making out shadows through a sliver of moonlight. The ambient flame was jarring to her, and it took a moment for her to realize who was entering.
"Hello, Rose." "Rose, what happened to your hair? Did they do this to you?"
Rose had almost forgotten her appearance, something that she never thought would happen. She touched the top of her head and ran her hands over her tattered clothes. She smirked. She felt good. She didn't need to be beautiful. She had power.
What are you doing here, Alan? Why do you want to see me?
It wasn't me. It was Isidore. From behind Alan, Isidore stepped forward. Rose was lost for words.
"Say hello, Isidore."
But Isidore stayed silent.
Speak, child.
The child's face contorted with fear, and he tugged on Alan's pants.
"It's scary here, Father. It smells bad."
"I know, kiddo. We don't need to stay long. I brought you here because you wanted to see Mummy. Remember?"
Isidore nodded.
You wanted to see me?
But Isidore looked confused.
Did you want to see me?
Isidore shook his head.
"No. Don't lie, Isidore."
"I wanted to see Mummy."
"This is your mummy. Remember? Your mummy is a queen."
"I don't know."
Isidore began to cry, and Rose flicked her hand at them.
Take them out, God. This is boring me.
But just then, in Rose's left hand, 2 small green lights began glowing. It was the eyes of the doll.
Isidore.
Isidore's face turned trance-like, and the green of the doll's eyes were reflected in his. A lifeless smile spread across his face.
"Mummy!"
Henry and I were enjoying a meal together, filled with Elisarian delicacies. I could barely eat when I woke up from my vision sleep, but now I could not get enough food. I cut into my tender salmon and savoured every bite. Amid all the trouble in the country, enjoying a delicious meal with my husband was a solace. Simple pleasures brought me back to reality. All we had was each moment. But Henry did not seem as present as me. He pushed a bean around his plate. What's on your mind? He looked up like he had forgotten I was there. You seem distracted. He flashed me a smile, and when his mouth turned upwards, a crack in his lips began to bleed. I looked closer, and it seemed as though there were remnants of some sort of scuffle. Were you hit? Henry put his hand to his face and winced.
"Oh, it was just an altercation with Haxon."
About what? Henry shrugged.
"He's always accusing me of this or that. He never believes what I tell him. I had to shut him up somehow."
What did he accuse you of?
"It doesn't matter. We're all squared away now. He will believe what I tell him from now on. Rest assured."
Is it important that the trusted people in your life believe you when they tell you things?
"Yes."
Yet you refuse to believe that my dreams are visions, even after you transfer the power of sorcery to me. You do not consider that. Perhaps I know what I saw.
"That's different, my queen. You were hit in the head."
So it seems were you. He touched his bleeding lip once more and was visibly trying to come up with a response. I crossed my arms.
You dreamed something. I did something. It is different. I know what I did. I know why they met.
What? Who?
Oh, what?
Do you know how we met?
Oh, Elegy.
Elegy and who?
Rose.
Yes, because they were both in Elisaria.
Right.
He sighed and looked down, and put his head to his hand as if he were in pain.
I don't know what I'm saying. Perhaps I was hit in the head too hard.
He looked so pained, so confused, that I thought perhaps Haxon had injured him more severely than intended. I walked over to him, gently sat on his lap, and stroked his hair. I would teach him by example, and show him what it was like to be believed. He didn't have to know I wasn't so sure.
A hushed tension lingered in Rosa's cell as she awaited the arrival of the oracle. The anticipation was reflected in Rosa's impatient expression. Finally, the guards escorted the oracle into the chamber. Clad in flowing robes, her eyes held a mysterious depth, capturing the essence of the unseen visions that danced before her.
You took your time? I summoned you for answers. Time dances differently for those who glimpse the threads of fate. What question burns in your heart, Queen Rose? What lies ahead for me with my newfound power? I'm sure you can sense my change.
The oracle's gaze bore into Rosa's soul, weaving the intricate tapestry of destiny in the unseen realms. She remained expressionless, which dampened Rosa's confidence. This was the first person she had ever seen who was unafraid of her.
In shadows deep, the kingdom teeters on a fragile thread. Choices made, a delicate dance. Power seized may yield loss. Fire or ice embraced can consume all. Enough riddles, speak plainly. I demand clarity. When will I rule once again?
The oracle, undeterred by Rosa's impatience, continued her prophetic revelation.
A path with shadows, a queen who courts the edge. Beware, for the choices echo through Elisaria's destiny. In the icy breath of destiny, Elisaria shivers on the brink. A queen's heart, frozen by betrayal's touch, heralds a kingdom trapped in the grip of unyielding frost. Beware the chill that seeps into the very bones of your choices. For a queen betrayed rules a realm forever bound in an unbroken winter's embrace. Enough! Lock her away! I tire of her elusive prophecies. Make her a prisoner to my whims. She shall serve my needs whenever I desire.
The guards escorted the oracle away, leaving Rose alone with the unsettling echoes of an ominous fate. As they dragged her away, the oracle smiled. Had she known this was coming all along?
Queen betrayed.
She smiled to herself. The end for Bronwyn was nearing. She was sure of it.
Must you consistently hit your targets dead center, Cedrica? You make me look like a lesser knight.
Of the two of us, you're the lesser knight.
Cedrica gave Oscar a cheeky smile. They had been on the training grounds all morning, sparring, practicing footwork, and now javelin throwing. Oscar reared back and hurled his javelin. He struck the man-shaped straw target just below the shoulder.
Damn! I believe the wind picked up.
Right, yes, that must be it. The wind. Remember, the loser collects the javelins. Get a move on, Sir Oscar Troby.
As you wish, milady.
Hello there.
Your Majesty, what brings you to the training grounds?
Searching for you and Lady Cedrica. Or is it Sir Cedrica?
Lady, sir, lady. I've heard all combinations used, Your Highness.
I have a mission of vital importance for you both. Given your unique area of expertise regarding the Eternal Thousand Bandits, I thought it prudent that you both be charged with venturing to some of their known haunts.
Are they not largely abandoned by this point?
Yes, but there may yet be clues that can prove valuable to us.
When would you like us to depart?
As soon as possible. Oscar and Cedrica exchanged a look, each seeing the same fiery determination in the other's eye.
It shall be done, Your Majesty.
Skylar and Kaya lay in bed, holding each other close.
I should be on my way soon. Soon is not now. Stay, if only a short while longer. I have a meeting to attend this evening. For the Veiled Hands.
Kaya nodded.
It is for new recruits, or it may be a trap to snare potential spies like us. I would not go if I thought it was. The Veiled Hands have lofty ambitions. Bringing down a monarchy that has stood for hundreds of years is no easy feat. If they're to achieve it, they must grow their numbers.
As Kaya donned her clothes, Skylar stared up at the beam from which Agatha, the first known victim of the Veiled Hands, had been suspended. She shuddered.
I wish I could go with you, but the court sorcerer and I must venture to the academy to gather some of Dean Edgar's research. Was he still missing? Yes. There's been no trace of him. I'm sorry. I know he was a great mentor to you. At any rate, we both have much work to do today. And yet you have not gotten out of bed. Soon. I will get up soon. I stared out at Elisaria from the same balcony on which I stood in my vision. Gone were the storm clouds and raging fires. It appeared to be a beautiful day in the capital, with a blue sky above. I noticed the sun reflecting off the golden face of the distant clock tower, the very one I had witnessed crumbling in my nightmare.
Bronwyn.
Doing my best to push the worry from my face, I smiled and turned to face Oscar. Cedrica joined him. My Lady Cedrica. I do not see much of you these days. It seems my brother has stolen you from me. I noticed a blush rise on Cedrica's cheeks.
King Aldrich has given us an assignment. We are to explore various Eternal Thousand Bandit hideouts and see if they have left any clues behind.
Willingly taking orders from Aldrich? This cannot be, Oscar. What have you done with my brother?
Enough of that. Regardless of what I think of the man, this is a task that needs doing, and we're the best people to do it.
Ah, there it is. I'd know that cocky attitude anywhere.
Bronwyn, do you realize this means we will need to leave you again? I cannot say for certain when we'll return.
Though we will return as soon as possible. We'll not tarry long in any spot. A sadness gripped my heart. In truth, though I had heard what Oscar was telling me, I had not allowed myself to comprehend its implications. I would again be without the support of my brother. We had often spent time apart, but I felt I needed him now more than ever before. Oh, yes, selfishly I wish you could stay, but so be it, since you go for a noble purpose.
Goodbye, dear sister.
Goodbye. And Cedrica, please keep him safe. He needs you to protect him. You know I shall, my queen. They left me then, alone on the balcony. I prayed to the gods above that I would see them both again.
Schuyler and the court sorcerer sifted through stacks and piles of dusty tomes and ancient parchment that littered Dean Edgar's office.
Can you discern any pattern to the way this is all arranged?
While Dean Edgar possesses a brilliant mind, he has always been a bit disorganized. I am sure he'd know exactly where any given item was located.
If only he were there to tell us. Hey, what's this here?
Despite her careful efforts to dislodge a large, dark leather tome from beneath a tall stack of papers, Schuyler accidentally sent the stack toppling to the ground.
I'll pick those up, but look at this.
She held up the book for the court sorcerer to see. The leather cover and spine were etched with numerous runes and depictions of animal and human skulls. A book of necromancy. Yes, this is what we seek. Good eyes, Schuyler. Schuyler and the court sorcerer hurried along the road which led away from Dean Edgar's office. Night had fallen since they began their search, but though it had taken much effort, the time they spent in the cluttered office was well worth it. The court sorcerer clung tightly to the book of necromancy. We must get this to King Aldrich without delay.
In his quest for research, you don't suppose that Dean Edgar practiced any of the spells in here?
No, Edgar would never have been so foolish as to try that. Necromancy is a highly corruptive and corrosive form of magic. It blackens the heart of those who practice it and rots the spellcaster, body and soul.
Then why would anyone want to use it?
Because the power a necromancer wields is immense. Mastery over death itself. There are many who would pay any price to learn such secrets. Schuyler shivered at the sorcerer's words, but something else unsettled her.
Strange. When did it get so quiet?
The court sorcerer stopped to listen. It was indeed deathly still. Perhaps there is some predator around, a bear or maybe wolves. Let us move swiftly. He took a step, but nearly tripped. Something had caught his leg. He looked down and observed a small, solitary branch clinging to him. Damned groundskeepers are asleep on the job. This pathway should be kept clear. I can't seem to untangle this branch. Schuyler, come help me. The sorcerer's eyes widened as more branches shot out of the darkened forest, quickly twisting around his arms and legs like a legion of vile wooden snakes. In a moment of quick thinking, he tossed the tome to Schuyler. Run, Schuyler! Go! The plants and vines wrenched the old sorcerer to the ground. He fought for a grip on the dirt as the plants dragged him from the road. Schuyler rushed to his aid, grabbing hold. You must take the book! Go! Now!
I can save you.
I will save myself. You must go! Schuyler's grip slipped, and she watched in horror as the sorcerer was yanked violently into the forest. A multitude of branches twitched to life and reached out for Schuyler. Her hand glowed a fiery red. A flaming wall emerged between the branches and Skylar. They hesitated to cross, the tips of their limbs catching fire. Skylar seized this window of opportunity and ran down the road. She glanced back and saw flashes of magical light deep in the forest as the sorcerer fought whatever demons assailed him. As Skylar sprinted, she could hear trees all around her beginning to move with accursed life. Skylar dodged as more branches and hands reached for her. She realized then what each of these trees had in common.
Dead trees. They were all dead trees.
Her grip on the book of necromancy tightened. Ah! The distant cry from the sorcerer told Skylar that he must have lost his battle. She could see the end of the forest road. She leaned forward and used all her strength to dash towards safety. Branches scratched her, slicing her skin, but she pushed on, snapping them with her sheer momentum. Finally, she emerged onto the paved path of the academy's main campus. She kept running and running until she could no longer see the forest. Then she collapsed, breathing heavily, tears in her eyes. The sorcerer was gone.
I plucked a peony, brought it to my nose, and inhaled its sweet scent. The gardens had always brought me much comfort. These turns among the flowers gave me time to gather my thoughts and center myself. So why did I feel so scattered? The many fears and worries ever present in my mind afforded me no peace. I needed something I could focus on, or better yet, act on. I glanced up at a passing hawk gliding gracefully across the sky. It was not far from here that I first encountered the midnight hawk, Majesty, Henry. Oh, how his first message had excited me. Our latest conversation, by contrast, had left me quite troubled. The way he had mentioned Rose, I could sense he knew more than he was telling me. That was his way. Our relationship had been built on misdirection, on a lie. Henry had waited ages to tell me of his ability to transform into a bird, to tell me he was Majesty. If I hadn't seen his transformation for myself and confronted him about it, would he ever have told me? Are you all right, Your Majesty? I was so lost in my thoughts that I had quite forgotten Laura was with me. She had joined to keep me company, but also to keep watch. It seemed no one was willing to let me wander too far alone, not while I was still recovering. I'm fine, just daydreaming, that's all. What about my queen? Birds. I handed her the peony and continued walking. My mind soon turned back to Rose. So many of the problems I now faced had started with her. But outside of learning that she was a runaway slave, I had never placed much thought into how she came into our lives. But I knew who could enlighten me. My gaze drifted out toward the palace walls, toward the Rothescue estate. Your Majesty, I do not think this is wise in your condition. If I am so feeble, why were you unable to stop me? I'm fine, Laura, really. I still think we should head back. Go then, and explain to King Henry why you left his queen behind. I cannot do that. Then you will be my accomplice, and that is final. My queen, you can be so unfair. I know. My knocks reverberated throughout the house. It was possible that no one was home. After all, Viscount Rothescue was still locked away in the dungeon. The sounds of movement within quelled my fears. I still do not understand why you want to learn more about Rose. It is enough to know that she rots in the cell for her crimes. It would be good to know more before her trial, that is all. I could not tell Laura that my conversation with Henry had prompted the decision to come here. To do so might run the risk of making her think I was somehow conspiring against my husband. The door opened, and Liliana's face poked out at us. Her lips curled into a broad smile as soon as her eyes landed on mine. "Your Majesty, you're here?" "That I am." "Then, Lady Laura, how are you? Won't you both come inside?" We sat together in a sun-filled room, with a large window overlooking the quaint garden on the estate. It was far smaller than the gardens we had left at the palace, and yet equally tranquil. "It is a lovely property." "Thank you, Your Majesty." "Your brother and the child, are they not home?" "They're at the market with Isidore's nanny, Belinda." "It is a large place to be by yourself." "I am used to it, or rather getting used to it." I glanced at Laura, who could tell I was still anxious to return. I more than once caught her glancing at an old grandfather clock standing in the corner. I turned my attention back to Liliana. "I must confess that my visit to you today was not entirely social." "Oh?" "I have some questions regarding... I am sorry if this makes you uncomfortable, but I have questions regarding Rose." Liliana's demeanor changed in an instant. She became immediately cross, not with me, but with the subject. Her agitation caused her to spill her tea, and she busied herself cleaning it up. "What is it you would like to know?" "Did people know she was at the Rothescue estate? Most slaves tend to be perceived as rather anonymous, but I imagine her beauty would have drawn attention." "Oh yes, she was no secret. My father—" I could tell the mention of her father pained her. After a brief pause, she continued. "He had many offers to sell her. Noblemen and women who thought she'd be better suited as a maid in a fancy manor house, or serving at large banquets. Places where people could see and admire her, rather than kept away on a country estate. My father never consented. I imagine Alan had convinced him not to. Besides, once she was pregnant, her offers dried up." "Did Duke Elegy ever make an offer?" Laura nearly choked on her tea. I knew it was a specific question and risked arousing suspicions, but I needed to know. "No, although he likely knew of her. He is friendly with several of the nobles who did. Why do you ask?" "They spent so much time together at the palace that it seemed possible they knew each other from before." And now came the time for my final question. I tried to play it as casually as possible, though I knew it was a near impossible feat. "How did she manage her escape?" "That has always puzzled us. No one thing made it possible, but rather several things went wrong simultaneously. I was sitting in my room and began to smell smoke. Then I heard one of the servants outside my window crying fire, so I looked out my window, and a fire was over by the front gate. I know it wasn't wise of me, but I ran outside for a closer look. It turns out I was not alone, because the entire household was out at the front of the property, some trying to douse the flames, others standing and watching and all. Rose slipped out during that time. Normally, she would have had to go right by us. The only way on and off the property was via the front gate, near where we were standing. But it so happens that a tree had been chopped down toward the back of the property only a day or so prior. The culprits who felled the tree were never caught, and my father was none too pleased about that. It had smashed right through our border wall." "And that was the opening Rose slipped through?" Liliana nodded. Even Laura was listening intently now. "And the fire? What was the cause?" "We never found any natural cause, so we suspected it was arson." "Do you think somebody helped Rose escape?" "We all think it. We just never could figure out who that somebody might be. I doubt even Rose would know. And it's not as though she had many conversations with people outside the family. Surely Alan would have helped her? But Alan wouldn't have let her leave on her own without Isidore. Besides, my brother is not a skilled liar. No, it was somebody else, though. I imagine they were disappointed when she was brought to the palace. Maybe they were disappointed, I thought as I sipped my tea. Or maybe they got exactly what they wanted. Your Majesty, with all due respect, you can't possibly believe that the person or people who helped Rose escape knew she'd crossed paths with the king. It is common knowledge among the nobility what days the king prefers to hunt, and Rothescue's old estate borders the king's forest. Yes, Lady Laura, I can very much believe they hoped the two would meet. But what of the trap that caught her? That is an important part of her story. I do not know. I do not have all the pieces of this puzzle yet. A deer leapt out of the foliage and darted across the road, startling us both. I steadied myself. But I intend to learn the full truth of Rose's escape. Any letters, Matilda? This was the third time I had asked Matilda this morning. She looked at me with a slight frown and shook her head. Why hasn't he responded? I had sent Aldrich several more correspondences since he wrote to me and implored me not to get involved in whatever darkness was to come. He must have known I would not be willing to take no for an answer. I may have relinquished my Elisarian crown, but I had not relinquished my duty. As much as I respected Aldrich and Oscar, they were all brawn in military strategy. Aldrich had turned to me for my logic every time we had a foreign conflict. Why was now any different? Especially since I now had powers. It would be foolish not to consult me. The knowledge within me was too great. It was only a matter of time until another vision came. The tips of my fingernails began to ice over just by thinking about what I saw while I was asleep. This was real. Was that a knock? I'm afraid not, Your Majesty. Would you check just to be sure? It must have just been a palace worker passing by. I crossed my arms over my chest, my elbows resting comfortably on the belly that seemed to be growing more massive by the day. Would you like me to go to his office directly and deliver a message in person? I thought about this, and worried about the repercussions of our aides flitting back and forth between our chambers. It would seem like an open secret that we were communicating, and I did not know who we could trust. I had to control the narrative as best I could. No, I should go myself. Oh! Easy, Your Majesty. You have a precious package inside you. Take it slow, Aldrich will still be here. My voice got caught in my throat, and emotion overcame me. What if he's not? What do you mean? There's something not right going on in Elisaria. I fear we're all in danger. Should I warn people? Not yet. This is why I must speak to Aldrich. We don't know what we're dealing with yet. It could be war. It could be something far more powerful. Please, keep it all to yourself. Yes, Your Majesty. I made my way through the hallways with a determined stride, growing angrier with each step. The walk was difficult because of the extra weight I was carrying, but I was motivated. How dare he, after all this, ignore me? Especially when we both knew what was at stake. It was laughable that he acted like this was for the greater good. But I am one woman. Elisaria is everyone. I arrived at his door, which, surprisingly, was unguarded. How vulnerable did Aldrich want to seem? I was fuming.
Go away,
I swung the door open without being invited in and glared at Aldrich, who whipped his head around to look at me.
Bronwyn!
How foolish have you become? How dare you? But I stopped mid-sentence when I saw what was hanging above him behind his desk. Is that? Aldrich turned to look at the large painting of me behind him, and then met my gaze once again. He did not seem embarrassed whatsoever.
It's you. Or, at least, the best version of you I can get, considering you live on another continent now.
Aldrich, this is... Why did you...
I needed to see you. I needed to talk to you, even if you could not talk back. I miss you, Bronwyn. I am nothing without you.
I was lost for words. This was not the conversation I had expected.
It's why I need you safe. I am not the only one whose life depends on yours. No one besides you can steer us to safety. And until we have more information about the dark powers at play, you must rest, strengthen, and strategize from a safe haven.
He looked down at my belly, and his eyes welled with tears.
For your child, at least.
Aldrich.
I've gone soft, it seems. Soft and mad.
I walked over to the painting and touched the contours of my face. He had had me painted to look so beautiful. My eyes welled with tears, and my gentle touch turned from a graze into a clenched fist. I swung around towards Aldrich and landed a blow squarely in his chest.
Oh.
You're a monster! This is all because of you! I continued landing blow after blow on him, and he just took it. He let me hit him over and over again. He looked at me with a hardened gaze, and I stopped. And we just stared at each other. Suddenly, he grabbed me by the waist and pulled me towards him hard. I struggled to breathe, not being able to decide whether the heat coursing through my body was anger or passion. But when he lifted me up in one swift movement and placed my legs straddled around his, there was no mistaking what I felt. I lifted my skirt and allowed him to take control. It was dangerous. It was foolish. It was ecstasy.
Rose hummed to herself and tapped her foot. No matter how much power she had in this dungeon, it did not make time move any faster. She was at the mercy of the doll, at the mercy of those conducting the trial. But not for long. Soon, they would bow to her.
How long does it usually take for a trial to be set up? Your queen is speaking to you, Baron Land.
It depends. Those they wish to punish more greatly, they make suffer in the purgatory of prison for longer.
They want to see me die. They want to see me rot.
She paced her cell angrily.
God!
Yes, Your Majesty?
Gather my men.
Within minutes, all the men who were imprisoned on her cell block were before her.
Kneel. This kingdom wishes to hurt me, to hurt your Queen Rose. They will put me on trial, and they will call me a liar. They will call me a whore. They will say I have no family, but you are my family now. They will take away our power and our right to fight for our lives in this world. They fear the truth that lies within these walls, but we shall not let them silence us. For every injustice they hurl at me, they hurl at you. We are bound by chains, but it is not our flesh that is imprisoned. It is our spirit, our will, our right to defy the tyranny of those who seek to break us. On the day of my trial, we shall rise as one. Let them hear the thunderous roar of our discontent. Let them tremble before the storm I shall unleash upon them. Let their walls echo with our defiance. On the day they think they will pass judgment, they will witness a rebellion that they never dare to fathom. They wish to strip me of my crown, but forget who wears it. Their feeble attempts to break my spirit only fuel the flames of my defiance. For every name they hurl, every lie they weave, it is a testament to their fear of my influence. They call me a liar because they fear the truths I unveil. A whore, they say, as if their judgments could tarnish the brilliance of a queen. They deny my family, ignorant to the fact that each and every one of you is bound to me. I am the storm they never saw coming, the tempest that will consume them. On the day they dare to pass judgment, they will witness the indomitable force that is their Queen Rose. Together, we shall show them the true strength that resides within these walls.
Cedrica, on a mission to find out more about the Eternal Thousand Bandits and their deeper mission, cautiously approached a bustling jewelry stall in the vibrant marketplace of Elisaria's town square. The merchant keenly observed her. He smirked at this clumsily dressed woman. There was no hiding that Cedrica wanted to seem like a commoner, when she most certainly was not.
Greetings, weary traveller. The tales of these gems wove a rich tapestry. What brought you to their lustrous embrace?
I seek a necklace. What are the histories with these jewels?
He smirked and leaned towards her.
This ruby is modelled after the one that the sorcerer Eldrath wore. With it in his crown, he was able to command flames. And this sapphire is designed after the likeness of Melis's sapphire, which harnessed frost and ice in its embrace. Each jewel has its own saga intertwined with the great history of our world. The amethyst, once said to commune with the spirits, could unveil secrets hidden from mortal eyes. The emerald, a symbol of nature's grace, held the power to heal and mend. And these, onyx and pearl, tales tell of gems that could control life and death, manipulate dreams, and weave illusions. Powers beyond imagination. Now lost.
Lost, you say? Where are these jewels now?
Some believe they lie hidden, waiting for the right seeker to unlock their mysteries. They were said to be scattered throughout Ret, but those who believe in their existence at all rumor that they are suddenly gone.
Well, if they're nowhere to be found.
Oh, the wise say that the powerful jewels reveal themselves to those who seek with both purpose and purity. But beware, for whispers echo through the city, rumors of a dark queen with a shadowed agenda. Some say she has set her sights on the lost jewels, intending to forge a crown of unparalleled might.
Cedrica felt a shiver down her spine, realizing the gravity of the situation. Once scattered and dormant, the jewels seemed to have attracted the attention of forces beyond imagination. This could not be a coincidence.
A dark queen, you say? What do you know of her?
Not much, only whispers in the alleyways. A veiled figure concealed in the cloak of night, orchestrating a gathering of the gems. Some believe she seeks dominion over realms, while others fear a cataclysmic event if she succeeds.
Were these whispers most fervent? I need to know more.
Venture to the outskirts, where shadows dance and secrets are born. There you may find answers, but be cautious. The gems are powerful. If they exist at all, that is.
I woke up the following day as if I had been sick all night. Then Laura offered more alarming news. Your Majesty had quite a night. You were tossing and turning, and the sounds you made. I thought Henry might be with you. Wait, Laura, had I left my chambers at all in the night? No, Your Majesty. You had asked me to find Aldrich, but then you seemingly fell back into bed and went to sleep. I nearly called the doctor, but realized you needed to sleep. I had never left my chambers. I spent the rest of the day before in a daze, barely processing what had happened that morning. But it was all a dream. It felt so real. It still feels real. I had autonomy and choice. Yet I still made this decision. What had I done? I felt a sharp knot in my stomach, and I knew it was not the baby. This was guilt. Despite it being a dream, I feel I had been unfaithful to Henry, with the one man I knew it would kill him to see me with. Henry took me from this country a broken woman and made me whole again. He was making me a mother, and here I was in the throes of passion just because the man I was once married to had a portrait of me. You fool, Bronwyn. I felt like I was going to be sick. This was a truth I could not hold inside of me. It was not a conversation I was looking forward to having, but I knew I had to tell Henry the truth. It was not fair that he thought I was this incredible woman. Our relationship was built on honesty and trust. If I wanted any chance at regaining that, I would have to break it first. I don't think I could live with this secret within me. I had spent too long in bed. It was time to get up and speak to Henry about this. Once I had made myself more presentable, I walked into the drawing room. Lady Laura, would you please find out where the king is? Good morning, Your Majesty. I'm sorry to ask this, but, which king? My face turned red as a beet. King Henry, my husband. Of course, right away, Your Majesty. Laura had informed me Henry was in his study.
Come in.
I entered the study slowly, once I had been told where Henry was. His eyes shone as he looked at me. My heart sank.
My queen, you glow.
Tears filled my eyes, and I looked at my feet. I do not.
Your beauty is unmatched, Bronwyn. You are feminine. You are strong. You are majesty itself.
I began crying, and Henry's face contorted. Henry, it's not about my appearance. It's not about majesty.
Then what troubles you, my love?
I hesitated, feeling the weight of my confession pressing on my chest. Yet before I could utter a word, Henry continued.
I know I haven't been the perfect husband, Bronwyn. I carry secrets I fear would break the happiness we've built together.
What do you mean, Henry?
But being with you, it's like a balm to my soul. You've saved me from despair, and I feel a debt to you. A debt I'm willing to spend my life repaying.
My eyes widened, realizing he had misunderstood the source of my distress. I hadn't expected this response. Tears of confusion mixed with relief slid down my face as Henry spoke of his gratitude and commitment. His sweet vows of dedication overtook the confession I had planned to make. What do you mean, indebted?
You gave me a reason to live when I had lost all hope. You made me believe in love. And for that, I owe you everything.
But what secrets? But as his tearful eyes met mine, silence fell upon me. This man was so beautiful, so in love. His love was boundless, unlike Aldrich's, which was messy and unruly. Henry's hands went to my belly.
Forgive me, Majesty. Forgive me, our child.
Forgive you for what, Henry? He stood up and looked at me, directly in the eye.
You give me so much pleasure. I want to give you pleasure.
At first, I was confused. But once he pushed me up against the door, so that no one could enter, and knelt before me, his head disappearing under my skirt, it all became clear. It seemed I was inept at finishing an uncomfortable conversation with any of my husbands. It always ended, rather than tears, in ecstasy. I would be lying if I said I tried to fight it when Henry's mouth began to explore my body like a hungry kitten. Henry.
Rose was half asleep when the door to her block creaked open. You have a visitor, Your Majesty. Rose squinted to see who it was, and was disappointed when she made out the figure of her ex-lover.
Alan, how many times must I send you away? Have you no pride?
Rose,
What?
you have every right to hate me. The way I treated you was despicable.
Rose regarded him with a mixture of disdain and weariness.
Despicable is an understatement, Alan.
I know I can never fully make amends for what I did to you, but I want to try. I want to help you escape, leave this wretched place behind.
Rose's eyes narrowed, the memories of her time as his family's slave flooding back.
Escape with you? Do you think a romantic getaway can heal the wounds you inflicted on my soul? Do you forget the chains I wore when you owned me? Have you seriously gone mad?
No, Rose, I don't. I remember every moment of my cruelty. But I've changed. I want to make up for the past.
You can't undo the past, Alan. Your kindness now doesn't erase the torment I endured. I am the Queen and you are nothing. Your father is nothing.
Alan hung his head, guilt written across his face.
Your son is nothing.
I can't change what happened, but I want to be there for you now. We can start anew, far away from here.
Alan reached out, attempting to touch her, but Rose recoiled.
Leave! Get out of here! I don't want your pity, your help, or your hollow apologies.
Her voice echoed through the cold stone walls, reverberating with the pain she had long suppressed.
You're just a reminder of everything I endured, of the chains I thought I'd broken free from.
Alan stood frozen, absorbing the full force of Rose's unleashed emotions.
I was nothing to you, less than nothing. A plaything, a pawn in your sick games. And now? Now you want to make amends? You want to save me? I don't need saving from you. I need to be free from your shadow.
Tears streamed down Rose's face, her entire body trembling with the intensity of her outburst.
God! God, men!
Alan began backing away, confused and afraid.
Rose?
Never come near me again.
He struggled to find some way to open the door to freedom, but he was grabbed by a swarm of men before he could escape. Shall we end it all for him, Your Majesty?
No. Just make it hurt. The infirmary was a sanctuary of muted sunlight and hushed whispers, where the weight of battles and time hung in the air. Sir Artemis, my loyal protector, lay on a cot, armor cast aside, his laboured breaths an audible testament to the struggles he had borne for me. I pushed open the door, welcomed by the warmth of the afternoon sun. The room embraced me, its quietude broken only by the creaking of wooden furniture. My knight, Sir Artemis, attempted to rise, pain and determination clashing on his face with joy and pride. Sir Artemis. His eyes, wearied by battles and time, brightened at the sound of my voice.
Your Majesty.
I approached him, placing a hand on his shoulder, urging him to remain at ease. You needn't rise, Sir Artemis. Save your strength. Reluctantly, he settled back onto the cot, his gaze never leaving mine.
Your Majesty, you've come to see me.
A smile formed on my face, and I nodded. I have. I couldn't stay away any longer. You saved my life more times than I can count, Sir Artemis. And now... I paused, placing a gentle hand on my belly, where the promise of a new life dwelled. Now you've saved two. His eyes widened, a mix of shock and joy transforming his wary expression.
I vowed to protect you, Your Majesty. With my last breath, if need be. Your child as well. You will always be my queen, whether you are in Elisaria or the Celestial Isles.
And I am eternally grateful, Sir Artemis. You have been more than a knight to me. Your family.
The guard ascended the tower steps, the air growing colder as he reached the secluded chamber where the oracle was confined. The oracle, cloaked in veils, sat in a mysterious stillness.
Oracle, Queen Rose demands clarity. Speak plainly or suffer the consequences.
Consequences are but echoes. A shadowed dance in the thorny realm of sovereignty.
The guard frowned.
Enough with the cryptic nonsense. Queen Rose demands answers.
The oracle leaned forward.
In the dance of shadows, whispers weave the fate of frozen echoes. Thorny sovereignty awaits a crown of enigmatic destiny.
The guard clenched his fists, struggling to comprehend the oracle's elusive words.
Cut through the mystic riddles. What is Queen Rose's fate?
Darkened veils shroud their path. A queen ensnared by the tendrils of a foretold destiny. A puppeteer orchestrates the dance, pulling strings unseen. A dark queen rises, her ambitions casting shadows over the throne. The puppeteer, the veiled hand, guides the dance with malevolent grace.
The guard took a step back, unsettled by the ominous words.
A land consumed by the flames of destiny, reduced to ashes by the veiled hands that pull the strings of fate. In the dance of shadows, a queen's destiny is woven with threads of ruin and resurrection. Leave now, mortal.
The guard stood and stared at her in confusion.
Leave now, mortal.
The guard suddenly bolted from the chamber, seemingly haunted. Alone in her tower, the oracle smiled her toothless grin and returned to her peaceful solitude. Aldrich sat anxiously in the seat of his throne, his nervous energy evident from the rapid drumming of his fingers upon the armrest. There had been so much occupying his mind that the date of Rosa's trial had approached unnoticed. Now it was less than a day away. Lady Nadine, clad in the black of mourning, threw open the doors and marched into the center of the throne room.
Lady Nadine, allow me to say how sorry I am for the loss of Viscount Langdell.
Days have passed since I waited to hear from you. I do not want consolation, I want action.
An investigation is being conducted as we speak.
Investigation? You act as if we do not know the murderer.
We must have proof if we—
Since when has proof been of great importance to you? It was Duke Betha. There is not a soul in this palace who thinks otherwise, nor does he deny it. Yet you shield him. Perhaps he acted on your orders.
You are grieving and know not what you say, so I forgive your accusation. But remember to whom you speak. I pardoned Viscount Langdell the very day he was killed.
Pardoned?
Aldrich, who had grown progressively uncomfortable, stood and straightened his cape, preparing to exit.
I speak the truth when I say his death is a blow to Elasaria. We will keep you informed on the progress of our investigation. Apologies, but I must be going. There are matters I must attend to.
I stand before you on the eve of a trial where you will have your justice. What of my justice? Of Langdell's justice?
Goodbye, Lady Nadine.
Coward! Coward!
Aldrich, closely followed by Count Perdue, entered his office. The king turned to Perdue, grimacing.
She is right, Perdue. I am a coward.
No, your majesty. Do not think about it.
Fear grips me. I cannot do what I know is right. I want to bring Duke Betha to justice, but Elasaria cannot afford to lose another powerful ally. He is useless to us in the dungeon.
You speak not of fear, my king, but of strategy. If people need a murderer to blame for the death of that valiant knight, why not name the Veiled Hands? Aldrich sank into a chair and brought his hand to his head, feeling the beginnings of a headache.
It would only serve to give the Veiled Hands the attention they crave, and might even provoke further action on their part. No, the blame must rest with Duke Betha. If we can weather the storm to come, he will get what he deserves.
I watched Sir Artemis from the doorway of the infirmary. He had not yet noticed my presence, marching as best as he could down the length of the room. He winced with each step, gritting his teeth and clenching his fists. The old knight had faced many challenges, but recovering from such injuries at his age was among his most formidable. Still, he seemed determined to emerge victorious. As he reached the end of the room, he did an about face.
My queen! I did not know you were here!
He stooped, attempting to kneel with great effort. There is no need for that now. Here, allow me to help you.
I am fine, your majesty. I assure you. To what do I owe the pleasure of your visit?
It is a strange request. I was hoping you might teach me how to wield a sword. His eyes widened.
Well, my queen, you are right that it is a strange request, especially coming from one who is pregnant. Still, if you wish to learn, I shall teach. My sword lies there beside the bed.
I soon found it, sheathed in leather, the metal of its hilt glistening in the light that poured in from the infirmary window.
You may draw it, but please be careful.
I pulled the sword from its sheath. I had held swords but a few times in my life, and each time I was struck by how light they were for something made of solid metal.
Do you admire it?
Very much.
Good. Now put it back.
I stared at the old knight, perplexed. But I thought you were going to teach me?
I am, my queen. But the journey to becoming a master swordsman does not begin with a weapon. It begins with footwork.
Oh.
Now, your majesty. I am sure you will make quick work of this stage.
And so I started my training. Sir Artemis showed me the basic stances and guided me on how to advance, retreat, and sidestep attacks. We both worked up quite a sweat, but by the end of our session, we could not help but grin at one another.
Well done, your majesty. As I suspected, you are a natural.
As a reward for my diligent work today, might I wield the sword one more time?
Go ahead.
I stood so that I was a safe distance from the old knight, doing my best to recollect the moves I had seen knights perform in tournaments. I waved the sword and slashed through the air. Sir Artemis raised an eyebrow, more than a little impressed.
Very good, my queen. Very good indeed.
I felt a jolt of pride surge through me, and the ends of my fingertips tingled with icy power. I extended the sword out in another swift movement, and felt the magical force channel from my fingers through the steel blade and out the sharpened tip, sending a thin stream of ice shooting out toward the wall. A bit of stonework was blasted away where it struck the wall. I nearly dropped the sword in my shock and put a hand to my lips. Oh dear. I faced Sir Artemis, who gazed at me in awe.
So, you were the ice mage in the Celestial Isles.
I remembered the embarrassing incident when I instinctively used ice magic to protect myself from what I thought was an oncoming attacker, and turned out to be a servant. Yes, I had less control of my powers then. I sheepishly glanced at the hole in the wall I had just made, and I'm still learning.
A swordsman and a sorcerer. I know of few who would dare to meet you in combat.
A smile crept back onto my face.
Joint session, and we were clearly game with it.
Kaya pushed through the small crowd, gathered in the underground pub turned Veiled Hands meeting place. She had expected a group of surly-looking thugs, but instead found these people looked like common folk, and in fact were common folk. One man might be a baker, another a seamstress, or maybe a blacksmith. Then, amid the sea of faces, she spotted someone familiar. Cheryl. They had both worked together under Rose, before the Mad Queen had Cheryl wrongfully accused and thrown in the dungeon. While Kaya was glad to see Cheryl free again, she did not want to be spotted, so she averted her gaze and turned her attention to the crates that had been shoved together to form a makeshift stage. Someone was going to speak to the crowd soon, and Kaya hoped they would say something valuable she could bring back to Skylar. She felt a tapping on her shoulder and turned. Cheryl was standing beside her. Now that she was closer, Kaya observed the healing sores and bruises on Cheryl's face. Her heart ached for the poor woman who had been so mistreated. She looked for any sign of malice in Cheryl's eyes. Might she hold a grudge against Kaya for not having done more to protect her from Rose's wrath? Cheryl pulled Kaya into a tight embrace.
I'm so sorry. It was not you. Do not be sorry.
Cheryl still struggled to speak with her disfigured tongue, but was getting better at managing it.
It is good you're here. We need an ally like you in the palace.
Julian stepped onto the stage and stared out at the crowd. You have all been so patient. Thank you. The time for action is near at hand. I have received word from our leader. We shall strike tomorrow. Kaya swallowed hard as the crowd cheered around her. She realized with fear there may not be enough time to stop whatever they were planning. Nobles from all across Elisaria had traveled to the palace to attend the trial. Large tables had been brought into the dining hall, and a feast was prepared. The nobles talked among themselves about the drama that was likely to unfold in the coming days. Notably absent from the gathering were Bronwyn and Henry, who had no interest in engaging in petty gossip. Though in attendance, Aldrich sat alone at the end of one of the long tables. Duke Betha sat proudly near the center of the room, stuffing himself to his heart's content and chatting animatedly to an uncomfortable couple nearby. So engrossed in his own story was he that he failed to notice when Lady Nadine approached.
Hello, Duke.
Nadine, hello. I was so sorry to hear about poor Viscount Langdell.
He is gone, and you are here. That is what matters to me now.
She looked at him with a tenderness that sent his heart beating.
I cannot describe the sorrow I felt for having cast you from my life. I was a fool. Though fool is not a harsh enough word.
He felt his eyes become hot with tears. Nadine nodded knowingly, tears falling from her eyes as well.
It is in the past now.
She opened her arms to him, and he moved toward her.
Oh, God, how I have missed you.
She wrapped her arms around him.
But I will not miss you.
She drew a knife from her sleeve and plunged it into the Duke's back again and again. Guests shrieked and backed away, tripping over each other. A guard loosed an arrow, and it struck Nadine in the back. Lady Nadine and Duke Betha collapsed together, dead, blood pooling around them and mixing with spilled wine. Aldrich stared at their bodies, his face twitching with shame and anguish.
The news of Lady Nadine's death had reached us late in the night. She had been a dear friend to me, and I could not fathom that she was gone. As my ladies-in-waiting prepared me to attend Rose's trial, dressing me and braiding my hair, we hardly spoke. The room was thick with grief. After a period of long silence, Matilda was the first to speak. I cannot help but think that Cedrica would be proud of Lady Nadine for taking matters into her own hands. But she is dead for it. The silence descended again. After my hair was done, I made my way into the drawing room, where I found Henry donning his regal jacket.
Hello, my love.
Hello, Majesty. He gave me a slight smile. The tenderness in his eyes sent pangs of guilt shooting throughout my body. He trusted me, and I felt I had betrayed him in multiple ways. Had I not gone behind his back to investigate the origin of Rose's escape, suspecting he was involved? He kissed my cheek, then my lips. I did not deserve his kisses, his love, or his tenderness. If only I could bring myself to tell him of the dream of Aldrich. Then maybe I could rid myself of the guilt I felt. He pulled away from me and stared into my eyes. Perhaps he could look through them and see into my secret thoughts and spare me the pain of having to say it aloud. Instead, he reached up and wiped a tear from my cheek.
You have been through so much of late. I will say one last time that if you do not wish to go to the trial, you needn't go.
I am determined to go. My mind is made up.
Then, my queen, you will hear no further protests from me. I shall be beside you through it all.
He squeezed my hand and sent another wave of guilt running through me. I did not feel I could go through this much longer.
Cedrica kicked dirt in the long-extinguished campfire of an abandoned encampment. She looked up as Oscar emerged from one of the few remaining tattered tents.
They left in a hurry.
Fleeing?
Perhaps. Or maybe they had a deadline to meet. At any rate, in their haste, they did not take everything with them.
He tossed a small wooden box to Cedrica. She examined it carefully.
A box for jewels.
Not just any jewels. Look at the inscription on the box. Protective wards. That box held a magical stone.
So it did. It's a shame it's empty now.
All this time I spent chasing the bandits. I assumed their quest for gems was motivated by pure greed. But if what that jeweler told you is correct, maybe they've been collecting them for someone else.
Look there. Smoke.
Oscar followed her gaze and saw a plume of smoke rising into the sky.
It's coming from the road. Quickly!
They rode up to an overturned carriage, which was set ablaze. As they dismounted and approached, they drew their swords.
Is anyone in need of aid?
I think I see a child inside.
Oscar pointed. Indeed, they could spy a small form huddled inside through one of the shattered windows. They stepped closer, mindful of the heat.
We are here to help you.
But as he looked inside, he saw the figure was nothing more than a scarecrow stuffed with straw and starting to burn. Oscar and Cedrica winced and collapsed unconscious from the blows they'd received to the back of the head. The bandits, who had used the burning carriage as a distraction, descended on their prey.
That's what they get for sticking their noses where they don't belong. Shall I slit their throats?
No, she might have questions for 'em. Bring 'em to the tower.
Aldrich paced the floor of his office. He dreaded the day ahead and longed for it to end. There was nothing else to do but push through the events before him. In his nervous fit, he picked up the strange silver box which Elegy had gifted him. He occasionally picked it up and investigated it, searching for any signs of change. Each time he had examined it, the thing remained frustratingly unaltered. He wondered if maybe the box was a cruel joke played on him by the Duke, a mystery with no answers. Then he remembered the words of the court sorcerer. He had told Aldrich that it was magical. He had said that some magical items open only when they choose to, or when certain conditions are met. His fingers traced the gold detailing on the silver surface. What could be inside it? Aldrich heard someone at the door. "Come in." "Are you almost ready, Your Majesty? They will be expecting you in the High Court very soon." "Yes." "So, you still haven't solved the riddle of that strange box?" Aldrich shook his head. Perdue approached the mantel and took down the blue sapphire stone that rested there. It had been left at Aldrich's door several days prior. Another unsolved mystery. "It's interesting that you heard the ominous message from this stone but one time. Has it shown any other magical properties?" "No. These days I am a collector of questions. Everywhere I look I find more, but never any answers." Perdue turned the stone over in his hand. "Do not lose faith, my king. Answers may come yet. Might I see the box?" "Here, take it. I tire of looking at it." Aldrich hurried past Perdue toward the door, but the Count picked up speed to keep pace with the king. So eager was he to catch up that he collided with Aldrich as they reached the door. "Ooh! Careful, Perdue. Are you so eager to be on your way you cannot wait for your king to open the door?" "Apologies, Your Majesty. There is a sort of nervous energy about the palace today. I suppose it has rubbed off on me." Oscar and Cedrica came to on the stone floor of a cell.
Oscar, wake up.
I am awake, though I wish I were not. My head aches like hell.
Where are we?
Her tower.
Cedrica and Oscar both shot a look at the exhausted-looking court sorcerer slumped in the corner.
"You are Elisaria's court sorcerer."
"Yes, unless they've already replaced me." "I don't suppose you were on your way to rescue me."
What is this place? You called it her tower. What do you mean?
"I do not know her name. Only that she is the reason certain mages have been disappearing."
"Like Dean Edgar? Have you seen him?"
"I have seen what's left of him. He is but a mummified husk now. She drained him of his powers, and then drained him of his life. I am sure to be next."
Where is she now? This dark sorcerer.
"Gone. I do not know where."
The court sorcerer gazed at a narrow window. Cedrica and Oscar stood. They could see an expanse of the dark forest several stories down through the window. They could also see the capital way off in the distance. As Aldrich's carriage pulled to a stop outside the High Court, he adjusted his seat and became aware of something hard in his pocket. He reached in and pulled out the sapphire stone from his office. Had Perdue somehow placed it there? Before he could contemplate the matter further, his driver opened the door. Aldrich pocketed the stone again and stepped out of the carriage, steeling himself for the moment he would need to face Rose again. Rose stared at the slit of daylight on the ground pouring in from the narrow slot window at the top of her cell. This was her only marker of time in an otherwise timeless space.
They are coming soon. Very soon. And I am so underdressed. I do not look at all like a queen.
She looked down at her doll, whose eyes glowed green. Bats all around the dungeon awoke from their daytime slumber, their eyes ablaze with the same green light as the doll. They descended on Rose. As more bats flocked to Rose, they carried with them fragments of cloth gathered from other prisoners. They spiraled around Rose, a living tornado. Then, as quickly as they had come, they dispersed. "All right, time to go." The guard stopped and stared. Before him, Rose stood in a wretched yet splendid gown, a patchwork garment crafted from 1,000 rags. It was a dress fit for the Queen of Refuse, the Queen of the Forgotten. "Long live the Queen! Long live the Queen!" The guard looked around as, slowly, prisoners all across the dungeon took up the chant. "Long live the Queen! Long live the Queen! Long live the Queen!"
Now, I am ready. Try breathing in through your nose.
Oscar looked furiously through the bars of the cell where he, Cedrica, and the rapidly declining court sorcerer were held. "We need water! Get this man some fucking water! Monsters!" Cedrica looked worriedly at the court sorcerer, who was balled up on the cold stone floor. She peered at the other side of the cell, which had a barred window overlooking the expanse of forest outside the Elisarian capital. She walked over to the window, where a soft rain had begun, and reached out for a leaf. It proved difficult to grasp, but a cold hand gently guided her forearm. Oscar, standing behind her, silently assisted in reaching for the leaf. As her arm tingled, she carefully plucked the leaf, ensuring not a single droplet touched the unforgiving stone floor. With the leaf in hand, she approached the ailing court sorcerer, who was barely conscious.
Drink.
He instinctively pursed his lips as she tilted the leaf towards him. His cracked mouth found momentary relief, and the onslaught of coughs temporarily subsided. "Thank you." With smacked lips and closed eyes, the sorcerer succumbed to the nourishing slumber he desperately needed. "You've got a knack for nurturing, it seems." Cedrica blushed.
It's not innate. You learn to unlock the Earth's healing secrets when you witnessed friends fall in battle.
"I'm a warrior too, Cedrica. My only tool is anger, which doesn't seem to help our friend." Cedrica shrugged.
I've spent more time in trees, I suppose.
"What?" Cedrica's serious expression silenced Oscar's laughter. "What?"
There are things about my warrior group that you don't know. We have a unique form of training.
"I am trained in all forms of combat." But Cedrica shook her head and closed her eyes. She clenched her fist and squinted as if she were trying to transform. "What are you doing? What's going on?"
I noticed it earlier, but thought the situation was simply too stressful. But watching the court sorcerer decline in health and my power still not returning, I'm confident about what's going on.
"Powers?"
Have you ever heard of a bird-headed tribe? Everyone began filtering into the courtroom. It was always a bit ironic to watch a group of the most respected nobles come to watch a scene like this unfold, entering with an air of superiority and entitlement, but on the edge of their seats to watch their peers be publicly torn apart. They were all selfish creatures at heart, I supposed. I sighed and settled onto the seat, on the bench, among the attendees. I tapped my foot anxiously, and felt a hand gently rest on my knee. It was Aldrich's hand on my thigh, and I looked up in shock. But I blinked and looked back down and shook my head. No, it was Henry's hand, my husband. I looked back up and met his gaze, his violet eyes looking at me longingly.
You are all right, Majesty. It will all be over soon.
I smiled at him and leaned in for a soft kiss. This was my husband. This was the man I loved. This was the man who would protect me. Perhaps if I had repeated it enough, I would stop seeing Aldrich where Henry was supposed to be. Thank you, my love. You're right. I turned to the front of the room, where people were still entering. I kept a soft smile on my face and nodded cordially at the nobles as they filtered into the room. As I was the queen of a foreign country, I sat towards the front of the courtroom, and I was seated behind several guards, one of whom I noticed was staring blankly ahead, completely expressionless, almost as if he were in a trance. I leaned forward. Was he talking to himself?
We will break down the wall. The kingdom of traitors will fall as long as she has the doll. We will break down the wall. The kingdom of traitors will fall as long as she has the doll.
I leaned even further forward and tapped the strange man on the shoulder. He did not seem well. He did not respond to my touch. Are you all right, guard? But he continued to look forward and muttered to himself. Henry sat up more erect and furrowed his brow.
There is a queen speaking to you, guard. I suggest you respond.
Slowly, the guard turned around, and his expression turned dark. He looked me right in the eye, and a sinister smile spread across his face.
I see no queen.
My mouth was agape. I had been through so much this last year and a half. I thought I had become numb to surprise and fear. But the tone of this guard's voice, the blank look on his face, and the evil arch of his smile, I was shaken to my core. There was evil in this room. I had known it for a long time, and now I was staring at it in the face.
She will have her doll.
With that, the guard turned around and slipped out of the courtroom.
Hey!
But before Henry could go after him, the High Court judge entered the room and took his place at the bench. It was almost time, and the audience fell into a hushed silence. Henry sat back down beside me, enraged. There is danger afoot. Henry looked at me, his face filled with distress. He did not have to say anything for me to know what he was thinking. I was right, and he should have listened to me.
All rise for King Aldrich.
My stomach turned into a knot as Aldrich entered the room and made his way to the king's chair. He stopped before taking a seat, though, and his face contorted as if someone had left a threatening note on his chair. He looked afraid to sit. I craned my neck to see what the hold-up was, grateful for a moment of distraction from how my heart fluttered upon seeing him. He leaned forward, gently picked up a silver box from his seat, and I sat back. What had he been so afraid of? He sat down and kept the box in his lap, looking around frantically as if looking for who might have left it for him. I felt sorry for whoever it was. Clearly, he was not a fan of the gift they had left. Aldrich's attention turned to Henry, as did mine. Henry reached his hand gingerly into his shirt dress and pulled out a delicate necklace. Why are you wearing that?
It's my favorite. It reminds me of you, Majesty.
The fairy tear hung from a dainty gold chain across his chest. Flecks of gold danced across his violet eyes, and a lump formed in my throat. He was smirking at Aldrich, whose eyes were filled with fear and pain. Even now, Henry could not leave Aldrich in peace. He needed Aldrich to know that he had taken everything from him, and that he would not stop here. He was excited to watch Elisaria fail. His eyes, always so delicate and lovely, now appeared violent. My eyes welled with tears. Everything seemed to be going wrong. It was all backward. Aldrich looked down sadly at the box.
Be seated. Will court official Isolde please step forward?
A sour-faced woman stepped forward, with a distrustful expression on her face. Your Honor.
Please retrieve Queen Rose from the dungeon. It is time for her trial to begin.
Yes, Your Honor. We sat in a pregnant silence as we awaited Rose's arrival. The only thing I could hear in the room was a soft buzzing that seemed like it was coming from two parts of the room, one very close to me.
What's going on?
I turned to Henry, who was looking down at the fairy tear, which seemed to be vibrating. It was the source of the noise. But it wasn't only from the necklace. I looked around and locked eyes with Aldrich, who also looked confused. He still clutched the mysterious silver box, which also seemed to be vibrating. I looked between the fairy tear and the box, and wondered what was going on. This box Aldrich was afraid of seemed to be connected to the jewel Henry wore to taunt Aldrich. Suddenly my vision darkened, and I saw a flash of the rotting corpse of a doe. The doe stood up slowly, and her skin began repairing itself. I blinked my eyes, and I was back in the courtroom. The time had come. The evil was here. My heart began racing. I'm sorry, Your Honor. I couldn't get them to bring her in the chains. I told them it was against the high law. Instead of bringing Rose in like a prisoner, the guards were carrying her in like a queen.
What's going on, Bronwyn?
Rose looked completely relaxed, humming to herself. She was dressed in a gown that looked like it had once been a tattered garment. She looked like she had been pulled from the depths of Hades to attend trial. The sound of the electric buzzing that was coming from the necklace and the box intensified, and my eyes were drawn to a strange, green glow from Rose's clutches. Was that a doll?
Didn't the guard mention a doll?
I'm ready to be put down now. Like an army, the guards halted where they stood and gently put Rose down. She smiled maniacally and nearly skipped to the stand where she was meant to testify. Rose is here. Your queen has arrived. Rose is here, your queen, dead or alive.
Silence! Your royal status holds no power in my courtroom. You are a prisoner until you hear my ruling.
Rose blinked her eyes and shook her head, as if swinging the hair she no longer had. Yes, Your Honor. I am your humble servant. Rose's voice trailed off, leaving everyone in the courtroom on the edge of their seats. The doll in her hands began to tremble, and a low hum filled the room. Suddenly, the electric buzzing from the necklace and the box synchronized with the doll's humming, creating a mesmerizing symphony of otherworldly sounds. The air itself seemed to vibrate with an unknown energy. I looked at Henry and saw the necklace no longer sat on his chest. I turned in the direction of the clicking sound. The box Aldrich held. It had swung open, and inside was a brass crown with indents. In one of the indents sat a green jewel. I looked back to Rose's doll, which now only had one green eye. When I looked back at the crown, I saw the fairy tear in the other indent. There was trouble upon us, and suddenly I was no longer afraid. I was ready to fight.
Silence!
Between the audience in the courtroom clamoring over Rose's bizarre behavior and my deep feeling that something was terribly wrong, I felt like I was in an alternate universe, not the place I had called home for most of my adult life. I looked around, and friends and family looked like strangers. The crowd was activated by Rose. Her short, uneven hair, her tattered but flowing gown, the smile on her face, and the way she was carried in. Ordinarily, that is what I would have been focused on as well. But I could not keep my eyes off this mysterious box that Aldrich was holding. To my surprise, Rose did not feel like the most sinister thing in this room. In fact, she seemed to be possessed by some evil force, seeming to think she was in control. Had she not learned her lesson? Be fooled by royalty once was forgivable, but to be fooled again by a higher power. She was a fool to her core.
Silence!
The room finally fell into silence. Rose, looking upon the nobles and royals alike with a wicked smile plastered on her face. She looked like she knew there was something greater coming for her, which meant there was something sinister coming for the rest of us. She thrives only if the rest of us suffer. I turned to Henry. We need to figure out what's in that box.
What could Rose possibly be involved in?
The trial for the accused, Rose Stormcloak, shall now commence. Rose, you stand before this court accused of deceiving the realm by falsely claiming noble lineage. Such a transgression carries severe consequences. How do you plead?
Rose looked unfazed. Your Honor, I plead not guilty.
She's playing a dangerous game.
The court acknowledges your plea. Now, the evidence against you is substantial. How do you explain the witnesses you hired, William and Martha Stormcloak, admitting to being part of your deception?
Your Honor, their confessions were coerced. They are pawns in a larger scheme to tarnish my reputation. I am innocent of these baseless accusations. This kingdom has turned even my own parents against me. They are now sentenced to death. I have had everything taken from me. My husband has kept our daughter from me since she was born. I was reunited with my parents after being sold into slavery. And they were manipulated into lying about their parentage and sentenced to death. I have been locked in a dungeon, had my life attempted more than once, and still persevered as queen. It seemed Aldrich could not hold back his reaction to Rose's claims, and audibly scoffed. It was obvious to everyone in the court that he found her claims laughable, and everyone surely expected Rose to notice this reaction, and then move on. But she slowly turned her face to him, and the wicked smile returned to her face. Is something funny, my love?
I implore you not to acknowledge anyone in this room besides me unless otherwise instructed.
Your Majesty, your queen is addressing you.
If you do not heed my warnings, I will force you to be held in contempt of court. You are worthless, and you will rot.
The nobles watching the court proceedings burst into chaos at Aldrich's outburst. Even I myself gasped in shock at his verbal attack.
Order in the court! Such disruptions will not be tolerated. The trial will proceed without further interruptions. Isolde, bring in our witness.
Even Rose looked confused. It seemed she did not expect there to be a witness. Entering into the court is Viscount Rothescue.
The court sorcerer's feeble attempts to calm his cough were proving unsuccessful. His magical aura, once vibrant, was now flickering like a dying flame. Cedrica watched his deteriorating condition with growing concern. She peered out of the cell's barred window, hoping for a sign of salvation. The mysterious force draining his powers seems relentless, and the court sorcerer was in the process of succumbing to the inevitable. Cedrica shuddered.
What if it happens to me? My powers are already fading. If I could only transform, I could save us.
We must not focus on what is not available to us, only what is.
Cedrica turned to the window, where she had plucked all the leaves she could reach off the tree. There were none left. The branch was as barren as her hope.
Sorcerer? Sir?
Her worried asks were met with silence.
Oscar?
Oscar walked slowly and somberly over to the court sorcerer and put his fingers on his throat. He knelt down to get a closer look and feel. He was desperate for any sign of life. But he bowed his head down and could not lift his gaze to meet Cedrica's.
He's gone.
The dungeon fell silent, and Cedrica, Oscar, and the memory of the court sorcerer's fading magic were left in the wake of an unexplained tragedy. The sorrowful rain outside mirrored the grief within the cold, unforgiving dungeon walls.
Unacceptable! We cannot let this happen to you or anyone else. We need answers, and we need them now!
Oscar's roar echoed through the dungeon, a fierce cry against an ominous force that had claimed the life of the court sorcerer. The chilling silence that followed only intensified the urgency to unravel the mystery before it consumed them all. The shadows in the dungeon seemed to dance with eerie anticipation, and Oscar's fury was the spark that ignited a desperate quest for understanding in the face of an unstoppable darkness. Cedrica, her eyes filled with a mixture of fear and determination, stepped forward.
We cannot afford to stand idly by. I felt the drain on my powers. We need to find out what's happening before it's too late. I can only imagine what's happening in Elisaria and the Celestial Isles. We have to escape.
As if in response to their urgency, the dungeon seemed to come alive with faint whispers, an otherworldly symphony that sent shivers down their spines.
Something dark is at play here. We won't let it take anyone else.
The Viscount looked frail and weathered. I shuddered at the thought of what the circumstances of that dungeon were. It had turned Rose into some sort of dark and wicked maniac, and turned this sinister man into a shell of himself. His eyes narrowed at Rose, and it was obvious that he had nothing left to lose, and was coming for blood. He took his seat on the witness stand.
Viscount Rothescue, you stand before this court as a witness. You are here to provide testimony regarding the charges against Rose Stormcloak. State your name for the record.
Viscount Rothescue, at your service, Your Honour.
Viscount Rothescue, you claim to have information relevant to this case. Please tell the court what you know.
Your Honour, Rose Stormcloak approached me in secret. She sought my assistance in orchestrating a grand deception. She wanted people to believe she was of noble blood.
Continue, Viscount Rotheskew. Explain the nature of this deception.
Rose paid me handsomely to hire individuals who would pretend to be her long-lost parents. It was all part of an elaborate scheme to deceive the kingdom and secure her place among the royalty. She even deceived King Aldrich himself.
Lies! He is lying. I did not deceive Aldrich. Suddenly, there was a glimpse of the Rose I had known. Her facade of confidence, which crumbled in an instant, and her eyes filled with tears. Aldrich knew. He helped me. Your Majesty, you know I did not deceive you. Everything I did for us.
Did you have a baby with another man for us?
Beatrice is yours.
You are nothing but a lying whore.
Isolde, get Rotheskew out of here. Rose Stormcloak, in the matter of Beatrice's parentage, how do you plead?
She's Aldrich's. Not guilty. Not guilty.
Whore!
I'm sorry, Aldrich. I wanted to be your queen. I wanted to be your wife. You couldn't conceive.
What?
I was not getting pregnant. He promised me an heir to the throne. He said no one would ever know.
What do you speak of, Your Majesty?
Duke Ellengy. He promised it would all be okay.
Silence in my court! Silence right this moment!
The judge's thunderous command echoed through the courtroom, quelling the chaotic eruption of gasps and murmurs.
Rose Stormcloak, your admission of involvement with Duke Elegy raises grave concerns. The charges against you extend beyond the deception of noble lineage. You stand accused of conspiring with the Duke to produce a false heir to the throne. Such actions are an affront to the realm and its lineage.
I didn't want to deceive you, Your Majesty. I only wanted to secure our future.
Our future? You dare speak of our future after this betrayal?
Aldrich's face contorted with anger, his eyes burning with a fury that seemed to scorch the very air around him. Overwhelmed by the weight of her actions, Rose could only weep in response.
Rose Stormcloak, you have compromised the sanctity of the royal bloodline and attempted to manipulate the rightful heir. In light of these heinous charges, this court has no choice but to render a verdict. Rose Stormcloak, for the crimes of deceiving the court, conspiring with Duke Elegy, and attempting to manipulate the lineage of the throne, you are hereby sentenced to death.
Your Majesty, no. Please, I beg you, I did it for you. Rose's desperate pleas echoed through the courtroom, but the judge's stern expression remained unwavering. As guards forcefully ushered Rose toward where her execution would take place, her demeanor changed. She shook her head violently. It even looked as if she was starting to laugh. You will pay. You will all pay.